money printing issue, something that's been talked about a lot. I'm sure you're familiar with modern monetary theory. It's something that's caught on recently because I think a lot of the Keynesian type of economists, they see modern monetary theory as sort of a get out of jail card where the idea is that you can print any amount of money without there being inflation. Now, again, Dr. Howard Nicholas has talked about this. He doesn't see it in quite the same way. He's obviously not an MMTer. He said that openly. He believes that obviously there is a limit to how much money you can print. But he says in the last 15 years in the global economy, central banks all over the world, including in advanced economies, the money base has increased by over 600 to 700% in the last 15 years. He points to Japan. Japanese money base used to be 5% of GDP 30 years ago. Today it is 120% of GDP, and yet Japan is struggling to go over 1% inflation. That Japanese printing binge is the greatest money expansion of the monetary supply, including Zimbabwe in this modern era. How do you fall on the modern monetary theory, the money printing aspect? I mean, it seems like, if you have US dollars, it makes sense to me because there's always going to be excess demand for US dollars. Can you say the same about the Sri Lankan rupee, and how is this going to impact credibility and sustainability going forward?
So I think on MMT, there the sort of the warnings for a small country like Sri Lanka are quite quite alarming. It's not something that we should have engaged in, and it's not something that we should consider a primary policy because, as you mentioned, the US has the sovereign right to print dollars, and entire world accepts dollars. So whatever, even if there is inflation, you can just pass it on to the rest of the world, some part of it at least. But now Sri Lanka's issue is we don't have the right to print dollars. We can print rupees, but our problem is not a rupee problem. It's a dollar problem, right? We have to pay our debt in dollars. When we have a balance of payment deficit, we have to pay dollars. When we have a budget deficit, we do go out and take loans in dollars, and then we have to pay those loans in dollars. So definitely, I don't think MMT is suitable for Sri Lanka primarily because we have been running on sort of budget deficits and a BOP deficit for quite a long time. So there's always this excess demand for dollars, as you said, and just going haywire with printing and calling it MMT, and we're going to print away our problems. It's not something that's a solution for Sri Lanka, and we are seeing sort of the effects of it now. Inflation is 12%, which is a really high figure, and if you take food inflation, it's getting close to almost 20%. So we are seeing, and especially if you consider the COVID period and sort of the post, not post-COVID, but post 2020, even production has been affected to a certain extent. So there's no additional there's no increase in production for those increased rupees to get absorbed into. So obviously it's going to go into whatever already exists in the market, and that's obviously going to increase prices. So I'm not an MMT proponent.
Right.